Imagine a city hidden deep beneath your feet, built to house thousands and withstand centuries of war.
Forget everything you know about mines or tombs. These were fully functioning, self-sustaining underground cities.
Beneath the cobblestone streets of Turkey lies Derinkuyu, an 18-level marvel of ancient engineering and human survival. It featured sleeping quarters, livestock stables, wineries, and communal kitchens, all carved by hand without any power tools. Advanced ventilation shafts and deep water wells ensured that thousands could live comfortably, hidden from any surface threat.
With only human labor and simple tools, they created a fortress designed to outlast sieges lasting for months.
Massive rolling stone doors could seal off each level independently, making the city an impenetrable maze for any invaders. At its peak, Derinkuyu could shelter 20,000 people, a staggering feat for a civilization living entirely underground. This was not a temporary hiding spot, but a self-sustaining civilization built deliberately over many generations. They lived, ate, worshipped, and raised livestock in the dark, while the surface above was occupied by invading armies.
Oh, did ancient humans live underground? The answer is a definitive yes, and on a scale that still impresses modern engineers. Modern experts who visit these sites today are often stunned by the structural integrity and clever design of these ancient spaces.
The full story is far stranger and more interesting than just a simple hiding place, revealing complex survival strategies.
Living underground meant wildly different things depending on when, where, and why in human history you are asking about. The popular image of cavemen permanently huddled in dark caves throughout prehistory is one of the most misleading myths in archaeology. Let's address this myth, as it is the primary thing people picture when they hear ancient humans and underground together. The term caveman has been lodged in popular culture for over a century, conjuring images of hairy, dim-witted prehistoric humans.
This myth suggests they spent their entire existence in damp, dark enclosures from birth to death, which is simply not true. The image is vivid and memorable, but it is almost entirely inaccurate when compared to the archaeological evidence.
Researchers studying Paleolithic settlement patterns across multiple continents have found that most sites are not in caves at all.
Early humans were overwhelmingly mobile hunter-gatherers who followed migrating herds across enormous stretches of open landscape.
They adapted to seasonal plant availability and changing weather patterns, setting up temporary camps in the open air. They retreated into caves only occasionally, and far less often than the persistent myth of the caveman suggests.
Why does this myth persist? Because of a massive built-in bias in the archaeological record that distorts what survives. Caves are extraordinary at preserving artifacts over enormous spans of time, protecting them from wind, rain, and erosion.
Here we see the difference location makes. Protected within the alcove, these tools remain sharp, but exposed inside sheltered chambers leave ash layers that remain intact and clearly readable for millennia after the fire went out. Art painted on deep cave walls endures in stable, climate-controlled darkness, while anything on an open rock face gets scrubbed away. The result is that caves have produced a disproportionate number of the most spectacular, headline-grabbing, and photographed archaeological discoveries.
From the painted galleries of Lascaux in France to the symbolic behavior recorded at Blombos Cave in South Africa.
Dating back 75,000 to 100,000 years, giving the unavoidable but ultimately misleading impression that ancient humans lived in caves. They didn't. They visited, they cooked in them temporarily, they painted on the walls during significant, possibly ritualistic occasions. They sheltered inside during harsh weather, during the worst months of an Ice Age winter, or during storms, and during periods when a convenient rock overhang offered obvious, immediate protection that a temporary open-air camp couldn't match.
But most of their actual daily lives, the hunting, the gathering, the long-distance traveling, the socializing, happened outside in the open. The same way the overwhelming majority of hunter-gatherer populations documented by modern anthropologists across every continent still live today.
Early humans used caves the way a modern backpacker uses a rest stop or a mountain hut, gratefully, temporarily, and only when needed. The term caveman describes an archaeological preservation bias far more accurately than it describes an actual lifestyle choice. It describes a bias far more accurately than it describes an actual lifestyle choice freely made by our ancestors across their history. That said, there's an enormous practical difference between occasionally sheltering in a convenient natural cave that happened to be available and deliberately, painstakingly engineering an entirely new underground world specifically designed for sustained human habitation over months or years. And this is where the story genuinely enters fascinating territory, because at various points across recorded history, humans didn't just passively use caves. They dug entirely new ones from scratch, sometimes on a scale that's genuinely difficult to fully comprehend, even with modern standards. Cappadocia, in the heart of modern Turkey, is the single most dramatic example of this phenomenon anywhere on the planet. The sheer scale of what happened there still surprises researchers who study it closely, even after decades of excavation and documentation. The region sits on a thick, extensive deposit of volcanic tuff, a type of rock that forms when volcanic ash compacts and solidifies. It's soft enough to carve with simple hand tools, but structurally hard enough to maintain its shape once carved. Essentially, it was sitting there, waiting for someone with enough motivation and enough time to start digging into it. Over roughly 200 underground settlements have been identified across the Cappadocia region so far. Some dating back potentially to the Hittites, around the 17th to 13th centuries BC. With the most extensive, most dramatic expansions carried out later by the Phrygians in the 8th and 7th centuries BC, and then further developed and expanded during the Byzantine era, starting around 330 AD. When persecuted early Christians fled underground in large numbers to escape the expanding Roman Empire's systematic persecution of their religious communities, the underground cities were not built in a single dramatic campaign by one civilization working from a master plan. Generation after generation, with each successive culture inheriting, expanding, and steadily improving the work of those who had come before them. Sometimes across thousands of continuous years of incremental excavation and refinement. Derinkuyu is the deepest and most famous of these cities, stretching down 18 levels and capable of housing 20,000 people. But it wasn't alone by any means. The nearby city of Kaymakli covers a similarly enormous footprint across 8 excavated levels, and the two cities were reportedly connected by tunnels, meaning you could theoretically walk entirely underground from one complete subterranean city to another without ever seeing daylight. Tivans. The later Byzantine-era city of Ozkonak was reportedly even larger than either of them individually, with estimates suggesting a genuinely staggering figure for an underground facility built entirely by hand over multiple generations. And these were not primitive holes scraped hastily into the dirt by panicking refugees either. The engineering sophistication on display inside these cities still impresses modern structural engineers and architects who visit the excavated sites today. Ventilation shafts, some reaching all the way from the deepest inhabited levels to the surface dozens of meters overhead, provided continuous fresh airflow. Water wells, deliberately dug from inside the underground levels rather than from the exposed surface, ensured completely independent access to fresh drinking water. Massive circular stone doors, each one weighing hundreds of kilograms and carefully shaped to fit precisely into its designated passageway,
could be rolled into place from inside to seal individual levels or entire sections of the city behind what amounted to an airtight barrier.
Critically, these doors could only be opened from the inside, a deliberately one-directional security feature engineered directly into the shape and placement. As recently as 2019, unexpected flooding in the small settlement of Kalis led to the entirely accidental discovery of yet another previously Researchers studying Cappadocia believe many more underground cities almost certainly remain undiscovered beneath the vineyards and modern towns scattered across the region. Their entrances are either deliberately hidden by their original builders or simply buried over centuries of accumulated surface-level development. This brings us to the core concept of the minimalist design, which simplifies complex data into easily digestible visuals.
Survival through concealment from enemies who were too powerful to fight directly on the surface.